Hello there. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On this video, I'll be doing a review of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 1. The first part of the video will be non-spoilery, and then I'll give you a warning for the spoilers if you want to come back and watch it after the show. So, first of all, I just got to say I'm very excited. Obi-Wan Kenobi's been an amazing series. Uh, Luckily, Lucasfilm and Star Wars decided to drop this a little bit earlier than normal, 3 hours earlier, really, for everyone. 9 p.m. Pacific, which means that it would be at midnight at Eastern Central, Eastern time, and then 11 Central. So I was able to watch both episodes last night. I was actually, as I was getting ready for this, I was rewatching episode 1 and 2 again because there's so much. There is so much there. And look, I overall like my thoughts on the show is that I'm really enjoying it. I love it. I want more than the 6 episodes that they promised. But let's get into episode 1. And there'll be a separate video for episode 2. And then hopefully I'll be able to do reviews for every episode going forward. So stay tuned for to the channel for that. So in episode 1, we pick up 10 years after the events of Order 66 and in Revenge of the Sith. We catch up with an exiled Obi-Wan Kenobi who has left for Tatooine to protect young Luke Skywalker. And Obi-Wan has to deal with living just a regular mundane life while trying to protect this child. But we also know that now their Inquisitors are out hunting Jedi. And this is where kind of everything kicks off for our story. Episode 1, I'm glad it was as long as it was because there's definitely a lot for us to catch up on. I think one of the masterful things that Star Wars does is give you a big summary of things that have happened, both weaved in the story, but also a little bit before. This episode opens up with a little bit of a montage of the pretty much the first the prequel trilogy. We see flashes of everything that's happened to Obi-Wan, and we really get to remember all those big beats for the character as we get into the story. I gotta say, it's really great to see Ian McGregor back. Let's talk a little bit about the people behind the camera and in front of it as well. So this first episode is directed by Deborah Chow with writing credits for Joby Harold, Hossein Amini, and Stuart Beadle. And this is, of course, this is all based on the work of George Lucas. Let's go over some of the highlights of the cast for episode 1. So we have, obviously, Ian McGregor reprising his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Joel Edgerton as Owen Lars, Uncle Owen, Rupert Friend, he becomes the Grand Inquisitor, Moses Ingram is Inquisitor Reva, or the third sister. We have Sung Kang from the Fast and Furious franchise as the fifth brother. And we have a few more things that I won't get too much into it because they may become a little bit spoilery. I think everybody I mentioned you've probably seen in the trailers, but I'll leave that maybe a few more people for the second part of the video. And I gotta say, McGregor's performance, like we spend most of the episode here, and it's just great. He feels like a tortured man. Somebody that is lost. He has lost everything that he cares about except this one thing that ties him back to his old life as a Jedi. And Ian McGregor he's great at portraying that while inching more and more towards who we know to be Obi-Wan as portrayed by Alex Guinness. I think it's really interesting how subtle those things are, like the body language, the mannerisms. And I think he always had that in the prequels, but in the prequels, he definitely made the character more of his own. Here in this show, as we're getting closer to where we started in episode 4, and to the original Obi-Wan who we met, once again portrayed by Alex Guinness, like is just really, really fun to see as he becomes that character. We have the main composer is John Williams, of course, but we also have Natalie Holt on music, and I think the music comes back to be great. I think one of the things that's always been great about any Star Wars property is the music. It really draws you into that world. It gives you the feel of it's very good at the feel of the scenes, like setting up the mood, the tone of what's going on, right? From something fun and weird, and like the Cantina Band music to something more somber, like you know, Duel of the Fates, stuff like that. So I think in this episode, it's still great. Um, there was a few scenes where I was not I was not it was not my preferred shooting style, where it almost looked like a little bit of a handheld shaky cam. This comes in scenes with big tension. There's a scene at night where somebody confronts Obi-Wan, and they kind of switch back and forth. There are like these shots of like from far away, as if somebody's watching this interaction. But I think that was just all to give us, and maybe that was the point, that it was supposed to make me feel like apprehensive about this whole scene. So if that was the case, then greatly greatly succeeded, because I was like, this feels weird, this feels off, something's off, and maybe that was the point with that scene. So, but overall, the sets are great. Tatooine looks fantastic. There's a few other places that I'll talk about in a minute once we get into spoilers. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Highly recommend this. Go check it out. Let me know down in the comments what you think about episode one. Now, if you want to stay for spoilers, we're getting into them right now. So, spoilers ahead. So yeah, we have, first of all, we open up with a scene. And how dare they? We open up in a scene of Order 66 from a different point of view that we've never seen. But I think they're planting some seeds specifically for Riva's character. I believe this is maybe her origin story. She was maybe part of that group of kids that hopefully survived uh, the Order 66. It looks like that was going to be the case. We see great Jedi fights. And it's always cool to go back and see that world. I was definitely keeping an eye out for, like, are we going to see a little bit of like maybe some Easter eggs about Grogu and how he escaped? Unfortunately, we don't get to see any of that, but that's fine. And then we open up in this scene as the Inquisitors arrive on Tatooine. Their presence is great. I think both you know, both the feel and the performance of the characters, I think, really brings that menace of the Inquisitors. I think the Inquisitors are the hardest characters to bring back, because they have lived in an animated world, and now bring them to real life. There's going to be a lot of comparisons, especially because the animation style for Clone Wars and Rebels is very stylized. So I remember I've seen a lot of complaints online about the Grand Inquisitor maybe looking a little weird. But even the fifth brother in the stuff that I've seen him before, like, he's larger, he's more of a hulking man. But here, you know, I like the choice to use real actor and practical effects, even if it maybe doesn't look as people may want it to look from the animation. But their performances are great. I love the fact that the Grand Inquisitor mentions that Jedi hunt themselves because they can't help being Jedi. They can't help who they are, and and it's true. But on the other hand, we see Obi-Wan. Like, is this how it's gonna come? Like, is this what the conflict's gonna be for him? Right? We see Obi-Wan living this simple life, working at this like fish factory thing, and just back and forth every day while trying to take care of Luke. And yeah, it's a very tormented life, and we see that in the like, he there's a nightmare sequence where Obi-Wan is just kind of remembering all the stuff that happened in the prequels, and he calls out to his master Qui-Gon. But at this point, I believe he hasn't mastered how to communicate with him, as Yoda kind of told him he could be. He realizes that the time of the Jedi is over. We meet we meet a different Jedi from earlier, and he confronts Obi-Wan about it. This is where that shaky cam I was talking about earlier kind of comes in. So one of the things I really liked about this episode, and this is jumping into something else, we have we go to Alderaan, and this is the most we've ever seen of like Alderaan, this beautiful planet that was destroyed at the beginning of episode 4. And of course, that means that we're gonna see the Organas. Like, Leia Organa is one of the characters. I love. There's a little misdirect of like, oh, you know, Leia's getting dressed up for this occasion, but actually Leia ran off. She's using a little, you know, somebody else as to fill in for her, as her mom goes to get her. it's really cool. It's really nice to see Jimmy Smith come back also as Bail Organa, and Vivian Lyra Blair, who I believe is I was told it was a little girl from the Bird Box movie that portrays this character. She's great. She's great in the role. She's very cute, of course, because I mean, she's a little princess, but she's also kind of a badass, just out there uh, doing stuff that really brings like it really is how I thought, like Leia would be as a child. Uh, it's really really cool, very good performance, and like I said, everything that is shot in Alderaan looks beautiful. I hope we come back to see it. I hope we come back to see this planet a little bit more before we move away. Um, and then as we get through the rest of the issue, we have a confrontation by the Inquisitors. They confront the people of Tatooine, including Uncle Owen, looking for the Jedi, and that really builds a lot of tension because even though we know that nothing really happens to Uncle Owen because we see him in Episode 4, this doesn't mean that is not going to arise conflict, right? And then the big crux of this episode, Leia is kidnapped as part of a bigger plan, and Bale reaches out to him and he tells him that he needs his friend and he needs his friend to find his daughter, and that's kind of where we have. So the main conflict of this episode is can Obi-Wan go back to being a Jedi to rescue Leia, or does he stay hidden to protect himself and Luke and the Jedi? I mean, and the remain himself from the Inquisitors. So it was great. I really had a really fun time, and I'm just very excited to see the next episode. But you guys, let me know down in the comments. Did you enjoy this episode? What did you see? Like some little Easter eggs, all that stuff. It'll be fun to talk about that with you guys in the comments. So as always, thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Sundays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, movie reviews, all that fun stuff. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and may the Force be with you. Bye-bye.
The Force will be with you, always.